Welcome back to 2K Away. Welcome back to 2K Away. We're two sisters 2,000 miles away from each other. I'm Payton, this is Paige, and we talk about true crime and all things creepy. So I said before in one of our last episodes that we had like 3 weeks of really rough cases. We had last week's episode with Paige's doll episode, and it was really fun. So now this one is technically true crime, but there's no murder. But
Okay.
yeah, but just wait. Paige has some business.
Oh, yeah. So I don't remember which episode it was, but I think it was like early February because that's actually when this happened. So if you remember right, I said that there was a body that was found in Verdon, Illinois, which is pretty close to home. And they suspected homicide, but it didn't say what the man died of. It just said, I think 58-year-old man found deceased in his home, suspected homicide. Well, guess what? I got an update. There is a 20-year-old man in Macoupin County Jail, has been charged with 4 counts, 2 counts of murder. Count 3 is car theft, and count 4 is aggravated battery. So this man is 20 years old. He stabbed this man in the head, neck, and back, and then stole his car. So he stabbed this man in his home. Now, this is all allegedly. Clearly, everybody is innocent until proven guilty, but that is what count 1 and 2 says.
Goodness.
His bond has been set at $1 million. So yeah.
Alrighty.
So there, if there's any extra stuff as far as that murder goes, then I will keep you updated. I'm going to try to keep track of that. But like the man was like, when they said suspected homicide, I was curious as to like, well, then how do you think homicide? He was found deceased in his home.
Yeah, because when you told me just the verbiage of found deceased in his home, like that's so vague.
Well, I know, and it was very vague.
Yeah.
Every report that I saw about it, it just, found deceased, and they police suspect homicide. And then when I read that the man was stabbed in his head, neck, and back, yeah, that's homicide.
Yeah, that's not just found dead.
No, this is why. Yeah, so allegedly he stabbed him in his home. I don't know what happened as far as why he was there. I don't know if there's any kind of correlation between the two, but in his home, and then he took his car.
Goodness. All righty.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? Maybe we'll actually cover it in an episode.
Maybe.
So in today's episode number 24, we're going to be talking about a woman named Helen Duncan. Helen Duncan was a self-proclaimed medium in the early 1900s in Scotland.
Oh.
But what she's most known for is her ability to supposedly produce ectoplasm, which is a viscous substance of like spiritual energy that would emit from like a physical medium.
That just makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. She would supposedly do this during her seances. She was born Victoria Helen McFarlane on November 25th, 1897, in Callander, Perthshire in Scotland. Her parents were Archibald and Isabella. At school, she would scare her classmates with dire prophecies and like unusual behavior. She was just a quirky, weird girl, and she would scare the shit out of her classmates. I don't know how her father felt about it, but her mother was a practicing Presbyterian, so she wasn't a fan.
Oh, goodness, yes.
Yes. So in 1916, when she was 19, Helen married a man named Henry Duncan. He was a war vet, and he worked as a cabinet maker. he was supportive of her supposed talents.
Oh.
And she ended up having 6 kids and also did work part-time
Oh,
at
damn.
a bleach factory, which was the weirdest thing.
A bleach factory.
A bleach factory, yeah. It was
Oh,
weird.
God. She probably worked there and she was pregnant too, because that's
Probably.
just what you did. Ooh.
Probably.
Oh,
So,
no.
so she always kind of proclaimed to be this clairvoyant kind of person, someone who's, able to speak and communicate with the dead.
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of started a paranormal career with her talents. So let's talk about it.
Okay.
So,
I mean, I don't hate it so far.
yeah. So clairvoyancy is the ability to gain information about something through extrasensory perception. It'd be a person, object, location, event, So around 1926, she went from just a clairvoyant to a self-proclaimed physical medium. Now, a physical medium is basically a clairvoyant who can materialize spirits and other effects like knocking, like that sort of shit during seances.
Okay.
So she started hosting seances at her home, claiming that she could materialize recently deceased people by emitting ectoplasm from her mouth.
Okay. I'm messy. You lost me there. I'm like, I don't need to see you foaming at the mouth, lady. Like,
Does it? I have pictures.
Oh, I don't want to look at them.
No, you do. You do.
No, I don't.
No, you do, because I'm gonna get to it.
Oh no.
So
She probably just throws up.
No.
Oh,
Let me get to it.
Okay.
It's so
gross.
So let's talk about spiritualism. So spiritualism is a religious movement based on the belief that the spirits of the dead exist and have the ability to communicate with the living.
Okay.
So it began around like 1850-ish, maybe a little bit earlier, I believe, in the United States, but I've seen several things. And it had a very big impact on English speaking countries. And then of course, like the invention of like the Ouija board and everything, it was like, whoo,
yeah,
all that. Actually, fun fact, Mary Todd Lincoln held seances in the White House.
No kidding?
Yeah, her and Abe were all into spiritualism.
Wow.
Because Abe Lincoln would also participate.
Okay.
Like, I'm not even shitting you.
He might now officially be my favorite president.
Not that he wasn't already a great guy.
Right. But that just sends it over the top for me. Like, right. I might have, no, let's be real. I don't have a favorite president. But like, now I probably do, because Abe Lincoln just seemed really cool.
Like, honestly, there was supposedly a time when Abe actually had a dream about his death, and then like Mary Todd ended up having a dream that he was like violently killed. It's like a whole thing. Oh yeah, they're crazy kids. So moving on, I just wanted to add that in just as a little aside, because it's actually like really cool to think about.
Yeah.
And it even though mainstream religions denounced spiritualism, it still managed to thrive very much so. Mm-hmm. And with so much death during the first 2 world wars, mediums and clairvoyants were very popular, and they were also because they offered comfort to those who had lost loved ones during the wars.
Because I mean, everybody was losing their loved ones in these wars. So I mean, I can definitely see the appeal, because I mean, everybody wants to talk to their loved ones, because they may not have been able to
say goodbye
to them or say goodbye or anything like that. So I mean, I can definitely see the appeal.
Oh yeah. And like I said, it had a very big following, and even like some famous people, for example, the Lincolns, were very into this. Like it was pretty big. So Helen Duncan became one of the most well-known mediums in Scotland. Winston Churchill and George VI were actually rumored to have been clients of hers.
Okay, that's awesome.
So, yeah. So, but this just a rumor. So During Helen's seances, she would produce ectoplasm from her body, and she would tell people during her seances who the spirits were and how to communicate them, and this made her very popular.
I don't like it.
But of course, with things of this nature comes skepticism.
Obviously.
And if you look at the pictures of Helen materializing spirits, which there are pictures, no, dude. I'll show you. It's so good. So, a sample of her ectoplasm, in heavy quotation marks, was sent to a man named Harry Price. Now, Harry Price is most well known for his publicized investigation of the Borley Rectory in Essex, England. And the Borley Rectory is supposed to be like one of the most, if not the most haunted building in England, possibly like the world.
Ooh.
It's because he did a whole investigation on it, and of course it's criticized because it's about the paranormal, but he was a very like firm believer in the Borley Rectory being haunted as shit.
We might have to cover that then.
Oh yeah, we will eventually. There's been other podcasts that have covered it and everything, but there's a picture. It's famous. Like when you talk about the Borley Rectory, you talk about this picture. It's an older picture, of course, so it's a little pixelated, but there is a brick levitating in like an open doorway of this place.
Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh,
so
man.
I'll show you after this. So Harry was actually really excited to test this sample, but was very disappointed.
No.
It turned out that the substance was actually a mixture of egg white and cheesecloth.
The cheesecloth?
Cheesecloth is really, really, really thin material.
Yeah,
Like,
I
you
know,
can,
but
you can
like,
clearly see through it. No, I'm telling anybody that doesn't know, that isn't as obsessed with cheese as we are. So like that's basically what it is. So it's
egg
that mixed with egg white.
Oh my gosh. Okay. But see, okay. So that would make it like it would probably look like she's foaming at the mouth type of deal.
It doesn't.
Or okay. So but it's white. It's white stuff coming out of her mouth. So my thing is, I thought ectoplasm was supposed to be like black.
She would regurgitate
this
cheesecloth and egg white substance.
I told you, she's just puking.
Kind of. So
no, that is what she's doing. That is disgusting. I'm no longer into you, Miss Duncan. We need to part ways. It's not me, it's you.
This isn't working out for me.
It's not working out. I'm done with your nasty ass.
I don't know what color ectoplasm is supposed to be, if for that's actually real, because you're thinking of The Haunting of Connecticut.
Well, yeah, but it was in that too, but that's not. I always associate it being black even before that movie came out, and it's always grossed me out. Always.
Well, first, I don't know.
I'm not here for it.
I find it very. I'm all about psychics and people with like a third eye sort of sense. I think absolutely that's cool as hell, and I think some people are very genuine, but I have a hard time in believing ectoplasm.
Well, and once you start saying something about ectoplasm, I'm completely out, because first of all, I don't believe it. Second of all, it's gross.
Of course it is. So we're gonna keep moving.
Okay, fine.
So shortly before Harry's test of the ectoplasm, even the London Spiritualist Alliance tested it as well and found it to be cheesecloth, egg whites, and toilet paper. So they claimed she was a fraud.
That makes me want to throw up.
Yeah. So, no, get ready. It's going to get a little grosser.
Oh, I don't like that.
No, that's fine. So Harry Price actually paid Helen to perform a number of test seances. At this point, he had already tested the substance that she claimed was ectoplasm and knew that it was, in fact, not ectoplasm. I think
Oh.
he just wanted to see the process, and I think he wanted to literally just expose her on the spot.
Right.
So after the fourth test seance, they suggested that she be x-rayed. So they brought her into this lab and sat her down on this chair. So they were setting everything up when she went into a trance-like state. And when she came to, I think she just closed her eyes and laid her head down. They're like, oh, it's a trance. But when she came to from her trance, she refused to be x-rayed. So her husband came up to her and was like, hey, it's a painless procedure. To which she jumped up, punched him in the fucking face, and laid him out. She then tried to punch the doctor that was there, who dodged it, and then ran out of the lab and into the street outside and was just losing her shit. She started like tearing off her tearing off her seance outfit and was like screaming and like "Rah!" Like just losing it. So in Harry's words from his report, which was eventually publicized, I'm going to read you this whole thing. It's a little long. Her husband tried to pacify her. It was useless. I leave the reader to visualize the scene. A 17-stone woman, clad in sateen tights, locked to railings, screaming at the top of her voice. A crowd collected and the police arrived. The medical men with us explained the position and prevented them from fetching the ambulance. We got her back into the laboratory, and at once she demanded to be x-rayed. In reply, Dr. William Brown turned to Mr. Duncan and asked him to turn out his pockets. He refused and would not allow us to search him. There is no question that his wife had passed him the cheesecloth in the street. However, they gave us another seance, and the control said she could cut off a piece of teleplasm when it appeared. The sight of half a dozen men, each with a pair of scissors waiting for the word, was amusing. It came and we all jumped. One of the doctors got a hold of the stuff and secured a piece. The medium screamed and the rest of the plasm went down her throat. This time it wasn't cheesecloth. It proved to be paper soaked in white of egg and folded into a flattened tube. Could anything be more infantile than a group of grown-up men wasting time, money, and energy on the antics of a fat female crook?
Shit. They were pulling out all stops for that.
He roasted her.
No shit.
In this published report.
Holy crap.
So he published the report, Harry did, along with photographs of Helen in her seances that revealed her fake ectoplasm made from cheesecloth, rubber gloves, and cut out heads from magazine covers, which she pretended were spirits.
She cut out heads in magazine and mixed that in with the...
Yes.
Oh no.
I have a picture of that one too.
Oh no.
It's so stupid.
Oh my gosh.
It's so ridiculous, dude. I can't even.
So her husband helped her with this.
Yes. Yeah.
What the hell?
Things you do for love, am I right?
You know what? That's the kind of husband you want, though. He supports you in all of your craziness.
All of your endeavors. And might I say that she's not skinny. Like, she's a rather hefty woman. And she laid her husband out in that lab. She punched him in the fucking face.
Honestly, that's probably the best part about this. He's like, no, honey, it's okay. It's just an x-ray. It's not gonna hurt you.
She's decks like, him. Right? I'd be like, fuck you. Yeah, it's cheesecloth.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So,
wow.
A psychologist who attended some seances came out and claimed she was a fraud. A former maid of Helen's came out and said that she used to help Helen in her fraudulent seances.
Oh my gosh.
Even Henry, Her husband later admitted that her ectoplasm was the result of regurgitation.
Oh.
So people claiming that she was a fraud, the list goes on, you know.
Oh no.
So she was even charged and fined for one particular seance, and she was known by police and spiritualists as a fraud, but she still had a following.
Oh my gosh.
Cuz my biggest thing with her is like, okay, so even if you do have these apparent abilities to be able to talk to the dead, you're ruining it by doing all this stupid shit.
Oh my gosh.
That's like people who like the people that make a career out of looking for the Loch Ness monster. Like there's one particular guy that said that one of the pictures that he took of Nessie was faked, but one that he took years earlier was real. Like you can't do that. No.
Okay.
Get it.
All right.
So in November of 1941, Helen held a seance in Portsmouth during World War II at a local pub. So during the seance, she claimed that she got in contact with the spirit of a sailor who told her that a British battleship called the HMS Barham had been sunk in the Mediterranean. So the HMS Barham had been torpedoed and sunk that same month.
Wow.
So the sinking had been kept secret. There were over 800 men killed, and the Royal Navy had only informed the family members of these men, and even they were told to keep it secret. It's a classified thing. We just want to let you know that your relative has passed.
Wow.
So it wasn't actually public knowledge that the battleship had sunk until January of 1942, the following year. So therefore, the Navy took an interest in someone claiming that they knew about the sinking, which was a state secret. So 2 years later, 2 Navy lieutenants were part of her audience in a seance in mid-January of 1944. So Helen, back on her bullshit, did her like white cloth ectoplasm thing and told one of the men that one of the materialized spirits was that of his dead aunt. He had no dead aunt. Then later during the seance, she said that she was contacted by his dead sister. He did have a sister. She was not dead. So this lieutenant was so disgusted by all of this nonsense that he reported her to the police as a fraud. So
good for him.
Undercover police at one of her seances arrested her later in the month. And there's like a story about this arrest too, where there was a spirit that apparently appeared and it turned out to be Helen in costume, and that's when they were like, hey, we're arresting you. And then she like tried to pretend like it's so ridiculous. But she was initially arrested under Section 4 of the Vagrancy Act of 1824, which is like a minor crime. But authorities considered this a much more serious crime because this is wartime, and they thought Helen might be a spy.
Oh, shit.
Yes. So, of course, it's World War II. You know, Germany is bombing everywhere at the time. And so stress is very stressful. Everyone was incredibly paranoid. And this random fucking woman in Scotland is claiming that she knew about the sinking of this ship when it was supposedly top secret. So, of course, they're freaking out, even though it's like, really, she's not doing anything but throwing up material. So I doubt she's a spy, but okay. So they went over statutes to try and figure out what they could charge her with. And eventually they discovered Section 4 of the Witchcraft Act of 1735. Covering fraudulent spiritual activity, which was triable before a jury. Yeah. So they were desperate during this time.
Grasping at straws.
Yeah, so they were afraid that she would reveal more classified information, like whatever her source was.
Yeah.
so they were afraid that she was gonna, release more info.
Right.
That was the big thing. And there were
Oh
other
my
people
gosh.
around this time that were tried under the Witchcraft Act as well. So she wasn't the
Oh.
only one. There were other spiritualists, and like there was a couple people, I didn't bother mentioning them, but there were some other people that were also tried under this act. Which the whole thing is so ridiculous because think of it this way. It's like 1940, like early 1940s.
Mm-hmm.
Say there's like a few people in one family, they get word that their relative has died,
Right.
and they'll tell a few more people, and then they tell people. Like if you
Well, yeah.
tell a relative, like it's not top secret information if you're telling people.
Yeah.
So it would not have been hard for her to find out from a family member or something. This was her thing.
Right. Right.
So it was probably not hard to figure out. She was not a spy. So the trial was very controversial, as you would, think.
Yeah.
People testified her authenticity. People testified that she was a fraud. The police raid of her seance was pure hearsay. They didn't actually have any cheesecloth to present. So it was ridiculous, honestly.
Yeah.
So Helen, even during the trial, offered to show her abilities to the judge, but was barred from doing so. So I'm imagining that Helen was like, yeah, I'll prove it right here, right now, thinking that the judge would say no.
Uh-huh.
But I think it would have been really funny if he was like, yeah, show us. And she was like, all right, you call my bluff. My bad. Like, I think that I'm imagining it in my head, and it's really beautiful.
No,
But
because no, what would have happened was if he said, okay, show me, she's caught off guard and she just starts going crazy, decks the judge and runs out and starts stripping off her clothes again.
or just bends down and vomits. Like, don't worry, there's some cheesecloth in here somewhere.
I think I've
So,
eaten enough to where I should be able to get some up.
so she was found guilty and was imprisoned for 9 months.
Oh,
And
shit.
yeah, there were others that were also tried for this that also did
Yeah.
time too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So all these people were in jail for being witches. Even Winston Churchill wrote a memo to the Home Secretary of Britain at the time complaining about like the misuse of court resources, and even called it like tomfoolery.
That's
Because
such a fun word.
it's ridiculous.
Well, it is.
Oh, it is. So Helen was one of the last people tried under the Witchcraft Act of 1735.
Oh my gosh,
So,
what an honor.
Yeah, she was one of the last people to ever be tried as a witch. Because that's essentially what it is. She was tried as a fucking witch. In 1944, she was convicted for being a witch. Oh. Do you know how, in the grand scheme of things, do you know how really close in time that is to now?
It's very close.
It's very embarrassingly close. Yeah. So she spent her 9 months in jail, and when released in 1945, she promised that she would stop conducting seances, but was arrested during another seance in 1956.
Of course she was.
And I doubt that was like her first, like, oh, I took a decade off and then I started again. No,
she didn't.
Helen
did not take any time off.
She was back to her bullshit, I'm sure, the following week, So Helen's trial was a big contributing factor for the repeal of the Witchcraft Act. It was right, which because it was so stupid. That's such a waste of time and money and everyone's time.
Yeah.
So it was basically at first repealed into another law called the Fraudulent Mediums Act of 1951, basically stating that a person who claimed to be a medium, psychic, or spiritualist couldn't make money from deceiving people, which is also ridiculous to think about how that's a law.
It is.
So this was also later repealed in 2008 and repealed into something that would basically it was like protection of consumers. It was like to target like unfair sales and marketing practices. So a much more broader term of like, if this is your business, you can't deceive people. But it's still like, it just falls into that category. It's not like they actually made a clause that was like, and if you're a psychic, you can't lie to people.
You have to tell the truth.
Right. So Helen died in her home in Edinburgh on December 6th, 1956. So a very short time after that seance where she was arrested again.
Yeah.
She did have a history of poor health. She was considered obese. She was just kind of a hefty woman, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But there was nothing super crazy and paranormal about her death. Because some people will say that there was like a whole big thing about her death. There wasn't. So people are still very torn on Helen's abilities. Some people think she's a fraud. Some people think she's authentic. Some people think maybe both.
I mean,
yeah. So her name is mentioned in many articles regarding fraudulent mediums and has made appearances in pop culture. There's like songs written about her and stuff. So descendants and supporters have campaigned on several occasions to have her posthumously pardoned of witchcraft charges. So it means like posthumous is like after death.
mm-hmm.
So petitions for a posthumous pardon were rejected by the Scottish Parliament in 2001, 2008, and 2012. And supporters maintain a website and online petition where they are still campaigning for her pardon.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And that's a story on Helen Duncan.
I have to say, I don't think I would hate me being labeled as a witch.
Oh, I would love it.
I don't know that I would hate that. I mean, that's what you were known for? All right. I'm here for it.
So here's my first picture of Helen Duncan that I wanted to show you. This is her cheesecloth, and then this is the face cutout from
oh my
the magazine.
Gosh. That's very clearly cloth.
Uh-huh.
Come on, lady.
That's why I'm telling you. See what I mean?
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's so much.
See, now I think that in itself is a paranormal ability to be able to regurgitate that much cheesecloth. Oh, that's a painting. Hold on. But yeah, it's Helen Duncan. It's her with ectoplasm in heavy quotations.
Oh my god.
There's two more that I'd like to show you.
Here, Helen.
This was the supposed like materializations of
what in the hell?
Dead spirits. Yep. This one is not even coming from her mouth, it's coming from her fucking eyes.
On.
Yeah. So that's Helen Duncan.
Oh my gosh. Come on.
I
That's
know.
ridiculous.
It's really good.
Wow.
So yeah, that's her legacy. And to be honest, I think I would sign that petition about pardoning her for being a witch too, because it's ridiculous that she was ever tried for being a witch. So see what I mean?
Yeah.
True crime, but no murder.
Interesting.
Unless
there's a death, but no murder.
Well, there's the HMS Barham sinking, so that's like over 800 deaths. But
well, I was talking about hers.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean,
At the end,
that.
Yeah.
I get that too, but yeah, no, I was talking about hers.
But yeah. So that's Helen Duncan.
Helen Duncan. Helen, she's a lot.
Yeah. I encourage anyone to look up those. Just look up Helen Duncan medium and you'll get a chuckle.
Because it's like,
it's so, well, first of all, I find it ridiculous that anybody charged her with, I mean, I understand charging her with like fraud. I get that.
Sure. Yeah,
but at the same time, you know what? She's doing her own thing. People are continued to go to her and pay her money to talk to their dead relatives. And if that brings them comfort, then leave her alone. Let her throw up material and talk.
So much material.
That's a lot. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's a specific talent all in itself.
Oh, I wouldn't want that talent. I don't
Nobody
want
wants
that I
that.
know Helen did. I don't want anybody that I know to have that talent because I don't want to be. No.
Well, Helen did.
No, thank you.
Alrighty. So, thank you for listening to today's episode. I told you it was going to be a fun one.
Gross.
So, you can follow us on Facebook at
2K away.
And you can follow us on Instagram at 2K Away Podcast. We have a Gmail that you can contact us at. It's 2kawaypodcast@gmail.com. We have a YouTube channel. It is 2K Away Podcast to see our pretty pig faces. So anytime that you type 2K, it's the number 2. And we just thanks everybody for who keeps listening to us.
Yes.
We really appreciate it.
So much.
Yes. So we love you and we will see you all in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.